Ethan adjusted his tool belt as he stepped into the vast laboratory of the alien research facility. The air shimmered faintly with energy, and strange machines hummed in synchronized patterns. He had visited many planets as an engineer, but this one was unique. The alien species here, tall, strong, and covered in pale silver skin, combined elegance with raw power. Their technology was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Careful," a voice warned. It was melodic yet sharp. Ethan turned to see her, Liara. She stood near a console, her long flowing hair reflecting the soft lights above. Her eyes glowed faintly green, and her posture was both graceful and commanding. She was a warrior scientist, a rare combination in her species. I'll be careful," Ethan said, trying to sound confident, though his heart raced. His human instincts told him to stay alert, but curiosity pulled him forward. Liara studied him silently. She didn't speak much unless necessary, and her kind valued skill over chatter. Ethan had been assigned to repair a malfunctioning energy module, and she was the supervisor. For a human to be trusted with such advanced technology was rare. As he approached the module, he noticed a faint symbol on Liara's arm. It was intricate, glowing softly with colors that shifted from blue to gold. He had read about her species' mating mark in briefings. Normally dormant, it activated only under very specific conditions, a signal that one had been chosen. Humans rarely, if ever, triggered it. Ethan, being human, didn't think much. He needed to access a panel that required him to get close. "Excuse me," he said politely, reaching out to adjust a component near her arm. He brushed against the symbol. There was a sudden flash of light. The symbol on Liara's arm blazed brilliantly. The air seemed to vibrate around them. Ethan froze. Liara's eyes widened in shock, and she immediately stepped back. No, that wasn't supposed to happen," Liara whispered, her voice tense. Her usually calm aura was replaced by something more intense. Anxiety and perhaps something else Ethan didn't understand yet. I didn't mean to," Ethan stammered. "I was just trying to fix the panel." Liara shook her head, taking a step back. The symbol on her arm continued to glow. Ethan could feel a strange sensation, almost like an invisible tether pulling him toward her. It was subtle but undeniable. This bond. Liara's voice was low. "It's activated, you're claimed." Ethan blinked. "Claimed? What does that mean?" Liara's eyes searched his as if trying to measure his reaction. "It means," she said carefully, "that the bond has chosen you. It is not something humans usually trigger. Once it activates, it cannot easily be broken. My species will know when it carries responsibilities." Ethan's mind raced. Responsibilities? He was just a repair engineer, not a diplomat or a warrior. I think this was an accident," he said, trying to stay calm. "I didn't touch it on purpose." Liara's eyes softened slightly, but the glow remained. "Accident or not, it is real. You are now connected to me in ways you may not fully understand. The mark signals to everyone that you belong to me in a traditional sense of selection." Ethan swallowed hard. Belong? He had never been in a situation like this. On Earth, relationships were complicated enough, but here, on a foreign planet, he had somehow triggered a bond that could not be undone. "What happens now?" he asked cautiously. Liara glanced at the laboratory around them. "Now you must stay nearby. The bond requires proximity until it stabilizes. My people will test you, observe you, and judge your worthiness. If you refuse or fail, the consequences are serious." Ethan tried to keep his face calm. "Well, okay. I guess I'll stay nearby, but I don't know if I'm worthy or anything like that." Liara raised an eyebrow. "We shall see." She turned away, walking toward the main console. Ethan followed, trying to keep a polite distance. He had no idea what he was walking into, but he knew one thing. His life had just changed in ways he couldn't imagine. Over the next few hours, Ethan worked on the energy module, occasionally glancing at Liara. She moved with precision, her hands deftly adjusting settings and monitoring readings. Despite the awkwardness of the bond, he couldn't help but notice her strength and intelligence. Humans often underestimated aliens, but Liara was clearly exceptional. "Don't touch that lever," she warned suddenly. "It could overload the circuit." Ethan stepped back immediately. "Got it," he paused. "I think I'm getting the hang of this equipment, though." Liara nodded once, a small sign of approval. "You are quick to adapt, that is good." The bond, Ethan realized, wasn't just physical. He could feel her mood subtly, her tension when a circuit sparked, her focus when calculations aligned perfectly. It was as if the mark had opened a channel of understanding between them. It was unnerving yet fascinating. Later, while taking a break, Ethan glanced at Liara. "Do you ever relax?" he asked. She looked at him, almost surprised by the question. "Relax? Not often. Duty is my priority. You, however, seem to find comfort in small moments." "It is strange to me," Ethan shrugged. "Humans adapt. Maybe that's why the mark chose me. I'm adaptable." Liara's expression softened slightly, though she quickly returned to her usual composure. "Perhaps. Time will reveal your value." As the day progressed, whispers began circulating among Liara's colleagues. Aliens in the lab glanced at Ethan and the glowing mark. Some stared openly, others exchanged hushed words. Ethan could feel their judgment, but Liara ignored it. She focused on her work, though her tension never fully disappeared. By the time the module was repaired, the glow on her arm had dimmed slightly, but it remained. Ethan felt the invisible tether still holding them together. He wasn't sure if it was a physical pull or something more psychological, but he could not ignore it. "Good work today," Liara said finally. "The module is stable. But the bond remains. You will sleep nearby tonight as per our customs until it fully stabilizes. Do not misunderstand, I'm not inviting you. It is required." Ethan's stomach tightened. Sleep nearby, that was a different level of proximity than he expected. "I understand," he said, carefully hiding his nervousness. "I'll follow your rules," Liara nodded. She turned to leave the lab, then paused. "Do not touch the mark again. It may intensify the bond beyond control." "I won't," Ethan promised. He watched her walk away, trying to understand the strange mix of fear, respect, and curiosity the mark had created between them. That night, Ethan prepared a small sleeping area in the designated quarters near Liara. He could hear her moving quietly, organizing her own space. The bond made him aware of her presence in a way he had never experienced with anyone before. Every subtle shift, every breath seemed amplified. Liara finally settled, sitting on her sleeping platform. Ethan remained seated across from her, trying to appear calm. He felt the bond hum faintly, a reminder that he was no longer simply a guest. He was connected to her in a deeply personal way. Liara spoke softly, not looking at him. "This bond, it is unusual. You, a human, have triggered it. Perhaps this is fate, or perhaps it is a test. Either way, we are bound for now." Ethan nodded. "I don't know what to say except, I'll do my best." For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the soft hum of the facility. Despite the awkwardness, Ethan felt a strange comfort. He wasn't alone anymore, and somehow, he knew that surviving the next days and understanding the bond would require more than courage. It would require trust. As he drifted toward sleep, Ethan realized that his life had irrevocably changed. The accident had been simple, a touch, a flash of light, but the consequences were enormous. And as he glanced at Liara's calm, focused figure, he couldn't help but think that this strange, unexpected bond might just be the beginning of an adventure unlike any he had ever imagined. The next morning, Ethan woke to the soft hum of the research facility. The bond between him and Liara pulsed gently, a subtle reminder that their connection was still very real. He rubbed his eyes and glanced toward her sleeping platform. Liara was already awake, sitting upright, her posture perfectly straight as always. Her eyes flickered toward him briefly before returning to her instruments. Ethan felt the pull of the bond as if it were tugging at his thoughts, urging him to understand her in ways he hadn't imagined. "Morning," he said cautiously, trying to sound casual. Liara didn't respond immediately. Instead, she focused on her readings, adjusting dials with precise movements. "You slept well?" she asked finally, her voice soft but firm. "I think so," Ethan replied. "It's hard to sleep when you're aware someone else can feel you." Liara's lips twitched in what might have been the closest thing to a smile he had seen. "You adapt quickly, that is unusual for humans." Ethan laughed nervously. "I've had to adapt all my life. Being human on alien worlds isn't exactly easy." She glanced at him again, the faint glow of the mark on her arm still visible. "Adaptation may serve you well, especially now. The day ahead promised challenges." The bond required them to remain close, and their proximity was becoming more noticeable to her colleagues. Ethan could feel their stares, whispers carried on alien tones he didn't fully understand. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few seemed outright disapproving. As they moved through the facility, Liara's presence commanded attention. She walked with a confidence that demanded respect, and Ethan felt himself constantly aware of her movements. The bond heightened every subtle gesture, the tilt of her head, the shift of her weight, even the way her eyes scanned the lab. It was overwhelming yet fascinating. Today, Liara began as they approached the main control center, we face a new challenge. One of the energy cores is unstable. If it overloads, it could cause serious damage. Ethan nodded. I'll help. Just tell me what to do. Liara studied him for a moment. Follow my instructions carefully. Your human instincts may surprise you, but mistakes could be costly. For the next hour, they worked side by side, Ethan's hands moving quickly under her guidance. He was careful not to touch the mark again, though he could feel the subtle pull guiding him. When the core began to stabilize, a sense of relief washed over both of them. You are learning faster than expected, Liara said, her voice almost approving. That is good, Ethan shrugged. Humans are good at problem solving. We have to be. Just as he finished tightening the last panel, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed and a deep rumble shook the floor. Ethan stumbled slightly, catching himself on a nearby console. Liara's eyes narrowed. An external breach, she said quickly. Someone is attempting to override our systems. Before Ethan could react, the lab doors burst open. A group of alien mercenaries rushed in, weapons drawn. They moved with precision, but their intentions were clear. They wanted Ethan and perhaps the bond he carried. Liara immediately stepped in front of him. Stay close. Follow my lead, she commanded. Ethan's heart pounded. This was his first real danger outside of repairs. He had trained for emergencies, but this was something else entirely. He saw Liara move with incredible speed and skill, deflecting attacks with a combination of agility and strength. The bond pulsed, almost urging him to anticipate her movements. Move, Liara shouted, grabbing his arm and pulling him behind a console. Ethan's human reflexes kicked in. He dodged a swinging weapon and, using a loose panel as a shield, managed to knock one of the attackers off balance. Good instincts, Liara said briefly, spinning and delivering a precise strike that sent another mercenary flying across the room. Ethan realized something important. This bond was teaching him more than proximity. He could feel Liara's intentions, her strategies, and her focus. It was as if he could read her thoughts just enough to anticipate her moves. After several tense minutes, the intruders were repelled. Liara stood in the center of the lab, her breathing controlled, her posture unyielding. Ethan approached her cautiously. Are you okay? He asked, still catching his own breath. Liara's eyes softened slightly as she looked at him. I am. You did well. Far better than I expected from a human. Ethan couldn't help but smile nervously. Thanks, I think the bond helped. I could feel what you were thinking, kind of. Liara nodded. Yes, the mark enhances awareness between bonded partners. You will learn more as time passes, but this bond is not just about understanding. It is also about trust, and you have earned a small measure of mine today. The weight of her words settled over him. He had never felt such recognition from anyone, let alone an alien warrior of her caliber. As the facility returned to normal operations, Liara led Ethan to a quieter section. You must learn more about our culture, she said. The bond is not merely physical. It carries expectations. You will be tested in ways you may not anticipate. Ethan nodded. I understand. I'll do my best. Over the next few days, Ethan stayed close to Liara, assisting her with experiments and repairs. The bond made him acutely aware of her moods and needs, though he struggled to interpret them correctly. Sometimes her frustration was subtle, barely perceptible, yet he could feel it sharply. Other times, a small moment of approval would warm him unexpectedly. One afternoon, while adjusting a delicate energy matrix, Ethan made a small mistake. The lights flickered and a warning signal sounded. He froze, expecting a harsh reprimand. Liara's eyes narrowed as she studied the matrix. Then, surprisingly, she smiled faintly. A mistake, yes, but not fatal. You are learning. Humans adapt quickly when under pressure. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding him. Thanks. I'll be more careful next time. Liara nodded, her gaze lingering on him longer than before. The bond hummed gently. a quiet reminder that their connection was growing stronger, beyond accidental activation. That evening, as they prepared for rest, Ethan noticed Liara staring out the window at the city below. "Do you ever worry about your people?" he asked. She didn't turn immediately. "Worry? Often. Responsibility is heavy. But I do not let fear control me. You humans are strange. You adapt even when the odds are against you." Ethan chuckled softly. "We have to. It's in our nature. Maybe that's why the bond chose me." Liara's eyes met his, and for a moment her usually stern expression softened. Perhaps. Or perhaps fate works in mysterious ways. Either way, we are connected, and you will remain near me until the bond stabilizes fully. Ethan nodded, understanding. This was no longer just an accident, it was the beginning of something larger. The bond had changed their lives, creating challenges and dangers he had never imagined, but it had also opened a path to understanding, trust, and perhaps something even deeper. As they settled down for the night, Ethan felt the bond pulse gently, like a heartbeat linking them. He realized that surviving the next days and understanding the full nature of the bond would require more than skill. It would require courage, trust, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Liara lay quietly, her breathing steady, yet he could feel the subtle tension of her alertness. Despite the challenges, he felt a growing respect for her and a quiet hope that perhaps, through this bond, they could face whatever came next together. Outside, the city glowed with alien light, unaware of the bond forming in the quiet lab. Inside, Ethan understood one thing clearly. His life had changed forever, and there was no turning back. The morning sun of the alien city spilled through the high windows of the research facility, casting long, golden patterns across the lab floor. Ethan stood beside Liara, watching as she worked with calm precision. The bond between them pulsed steadily, no longer a chaotic pull but a quiet rhythm connecting their movements, thoughts, and awareness. "Today we must finalize the energy core stabilization," Liara said without looking at him. "And you will assist directly. The bond may allow us to synchronize more effectively." Ethan nodded. He had grown used to the subtle hum of the bond, the way it guided him, not forced him. He followed her lead, moving his hands in tandem with hers as they adjusted complex arrays of glowing panels. "You are improving," Liara observed. "Humans rarely grasp the subtleties of our energy manipulation so quickly." Ethan smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "I guess I'm learning from the best." Liara glanced at him, a faint softness in her expression. The usual sternness remained, but beneath it, she allowed a glimmer of respect, even admiration. The bond had begun to create more than awareness. It was forming trust. Their work was interrupted when alarms blared across the facility. A breach had been detected, more serious than before. Ethan's pulse quickened, but the bond provided an unexpected calm. He could sense Liara's focus, her plan forming in her mind before she even spoke. "Mercenaries again," she said sharply. "They believe the bond grants you value beyond a human. We must protect the core and each other." Without hesitation, they moved into defensive positions. Ethan felt the connection guiding him. He anticipated attacks moments before they happened, dodging strikes and countering with instinctive precision. Liara moved fluidly, her every motion calculated and deadly accurate. Despite the danger, Ethan was struck by the harmony between them. The bond wasn't controlling him, it was enhancing him. He could predict Liara's movements just enough to act effectively, complementing her skills. Together, they were a force neither side could easily overcome. After a tense battle, the intruders were forced to retreat. The lab was in minor disarray, but the energy core remained secure. Ethan breathed heavily, adrenaline coursing through him while Liara calmly assessed the damage. "You performed admirably," she said finally. "Humans are unpredictable, yet your instincts saved us today. I am impressed." Ethan felt a warmth he couldn't quite describe. Praise from Liara was rare, and the bond made it feel more intimate, more meaningful. "Thanks, I couldn't have done it without you guiding me." Liara's gaze softened for a brief moment. Perhaps this bond was not merely an accident. Perhaps it was necessary, Ethan blinked. "Necessary?" "Yes," Liara replied quietly. "It has forced us to cooperate, to trust one another. That is rare, even among my people. It is enlightening." The rest of the day passed in a tense but productive rhythm. Ethan and Liara worked side by side, repairing damage and monitoring the energy systems. The bond continued to hum gently, a reminder that they were no longer individuals in this moment. They were a team. That evening, they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The alien metropolis stretched out below, lights shimmering like stars fallen to the ground. Ethan felt the bond pulse softly, almost like a heartbeat syncing with his own. "I never expected to be here," Ethan said, breaking the silence. "A human bonded to a warrior scientist on an alien world. It feels unreal." Liara's eyes, glowing faintly in the dusk, turned to him. "Unreal or not, it is reality, and we must embrace it fully if we are to survive and succeed. The bond is not merely biological, it is a partnership. And I trust you." Ethan's chest tightened. Trust from Liara was more than he had ever received from anyone in his life. "I trust you too," he said softly. "Completely." For a moment, the city below, the lab behind them, the challenges ahead, all faded. There was only the quiet connection between them, the bond that had begun as an accident and had grown into something extraordinary. The next day brought new challenges. Liara received a summons from her superiors, a council that would test both her judgment and Ethan's presence. Normally, a human would be excluded, but the bond required his involvement. As they entered the council chamber, the atmosphere shifted. Aliens of various ranks and species regarded them with curiosity and skepticism. Whispers echoed across the room. The glow of Liara's mark confirmed the bond, and eyes turned to Ethan, assessing his worth. Liara stepped forward confidently. "This human," she announced, "is bonded to me. The bond is real and active. He has demonstrated courage, intelligence, and adaptability. He will remain by my side as required until the bond stabilizes." The council murmured, some clearly unconvinced. A stern alien with ridged facial markings stepped forward. "A human? You claim the bond is meaningful?" Liara met his gaze without flinching. "I claim nothing beyond the truth. The bond exists. The human has proven himself." Ethan stepped forward, heart pounding. He had expected this moment to be intimidating, but the bond gave him clarity. I will follow her guidance. I will adapt, learn, and assist in any way I can. I may be human, but I am capable." The chamber fell silent. Then one by one the council members nodded, acknowledging his statement. The test of human worth had been passed, not by tradition or strength, but by courage, intelligence, and willingness to adapt. After the council meeting, Liara turned to him. "You have impressed even my people." "That is no small feat," Ethan grinned. "Guess humans aren't as weak as some think." Liara allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps you are not." The bond had strengthened further during the council, connecting their thoughts and actions. Ethan realized that the initial accidental activation had led to this, an understanding and partnership that neither could have predicted. In the following days, Ethan and Liara continued their work, their connection deepening. They anticipated each other's needs, shared strategies silently, and even found moments of humor amidst the intensity of the alien facility. The bond, once accidental, had become a bridge between their worlds. One evening, as they finished monitoring the energy cores, Liara looked at Ethan seriously. "The bond is now fully stabilized," she said. "It no longer pulses in warning. It is steady, controlled. It is ours." Ethan felt a warmth of relief and pride. "Ours?" he repeated. "Yes," Liara said softly. "Not merely a biological tether, but a partnership. We are connected, human and alien, in a way that allows us to face challenges together. I accept this." Ethan stepped closer. The bond pulsed gently, guiding him, giving him confidence. "I accept it too, completely, and I'll do whatever it takes to honor it." Liara's gaze softened, a rare moment of vulnerability in her usually composed demeanor. "Then we are ready," she said. "Ready to face whatever comes next, together." The city below glowed with the last light of day. The facility hummed with quiet energy, and the bond between human and alien pulsed gently, a reminder that what had begun as an accident had grown into something extraordinary. Ethan looked at Liara, and for the first time, he understood the full meaning of the mark, not as a trap or obligation, but as a path to trust, courage, and connection. They had been thrown together by chance, but they had chosen to face the world as partners. As night fell, Ethan and Liara stood side by side on the balcony, the alien wind brushing past them. The glow of the mark had softened completely, no longer signaling confusion or alarm, but harmony. Ethan took a deep breath. "I never imagined this," he said quietly. "An accident, and yet it feels right." Liara's eyes met his. "Sometimes the universe works in ways we do not anticipate. What begins as accident can become destiny." The bond between them pulsed softly, steady and strong as if echoing her words. And for the first time, Ethan felt certain that whatever challenges awaited them, alien threats, cultural trials, or dangerous experiments, they would face them together. Not as human and alien, but as partners, bound by trust, courage, and an unbreakable connection. As they turned back to the lab, ready for whatever the next day would bring, Ethan realized that the accidental activation of the mark had changed his life forever, and he wouldn't have it any other way.